Hello students, welcome to Vijetha IAS Academy. This is Murali Chawla, your faculty for history. So, in this video lecture, we will discuss about the mains trend for history in paper 1, that is GS1, and we will see what type of questions will come, what is the trend, and we will analyze the trend particularly with respect to the subsection history and as well as the diversity of the questions that comes in the examination, especially in the mains examination, that is GS paper 1, right. So, first of all, we'll see what the history you see. Here I have provided some of the points here that it is a part of GS1, and coming to the weightage of history in GS1, obviously it makes nearly 75 to 90 marks out of 250 marks. So, in that we can say nearly 6 to 7 questions will be asked from the section of history itself, which includes ancient India, medieval India, modern India, post-independence and world history as well, which includes art and culture, right. So, out of 50 marks, so you will be having nearly 75 to, if the most probably the questions will be, there will be 3 10 markers and 3 15 markers, which makes 75 marks, or sometimes it may go to 90 marks as well, 3 10 markers or 4 15 markers, right. So, that itself depicts the importance of history in the GS1, right. So, coming to the syllabus of history in mains, see, as you already know, the syllabus for history in prelims and mains differ from each other. So, obviously for prelims you will be having ancient India, medieval India, modern India, including art and culture, whereas coming to the mains section, mains paper, apart from that, additionally you will be having post-independent India, and as well as you have to deal with world history as well. You will have additional syllabus apart from the prelim syllabus, which we have already discussed, right. So, that is apart from Indian history, you have to deal with world history as well, right. So, especially world history in the sense, no need to go through entire the history of the world, but here we predominantly focus on colonization, decolonization, various revolutions like Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, American Revolution, right, and changes in Europe that occurred in the 16th and 17th century, scientific revolution as well. So, those topics and as well as various economic and political philosophical theories. So, those topics of world history will be discussed and important for the mains examination, right. So, coming to the questions that comes in the examination. So, obviously, as I already mentioned, it has a mix of questions from different sections. So, different sections in the sense, sometimes usually you will have a question on art and culture, particularly in mains. So, either for 10 marker or 15 marker. So, usually if not art and culture, you will have question from ancient section, compulsorily you will have question from modern section, and coming to the world history section, UPSC, the pattern is varying from year to year, because some years they did not ask any, they were not asking any questions from world, and some years they were asking questions from world history, right. So, the pattern of these questions from these sections vary from year to year, but however, they will keep on making 6 to 7 questions compulsorily from history sections, that is which makes nearly 75 to 90 marks. Questions typically vary from year to year. So, sometimes some years the paper may have 6 questions, in some years the paper may have 7 questions, right. So, how to deal with these questions? So, these questions require analytical and comprehensive answers. So, what is analytical and comprehensive answers? See, first of all, history is not just, obviously history is some mostly factual thing which you have to write about what happened in the past, that's fine. But however, coming to the examination, it's not just putting the facts into the paper of mains examination. It's all about analyzing the question what has been given, and you need to understand that question, and you need to produce the answer which is relevant to the demand of the question. So that is very important thing that you have to keep in mind here, right? So which requires analytical and comprehensive answers, right? It's not just simply jotting down the facts of history in the mains paper. Rather than that, you have to analyze and you have to write the answer in a comprehensive way, touching various different or diverse aspects. So this is about the mains paper GS 1, that is nothing but history. So here I have provided the syllabus that makes, so obviously the syllabus is ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history. So here we'll mostly focus on advent of Europeans and Indian national movement, related part of right from ancient to modern, right? So which you have to where you have to deal with various art forms like music, painting, dance forms, temple architecture, sculptures, right? So which is integrated among these three. And apart from that, obviously this is a common syllabus for pre and mains. Okay, so these sections are common for pre and mains, but however coming to the only mains, so you will be adding post independent India and world history. See, obviously post independent India, obviously which makes 1947 to till date, but however in that also we no need to go through all the topics or all these aspects of this particular last 60-70 years. Rather than you have to focus only on few things, that is early integration of India, early consolidation of India, or some of the land reforms that were carried in 1950s and 1960s, some of the initial or early foreign policies that were carried initially in the 1950s and 60s, and as well as particularly NAM as well, and as well as various policies that tribal population, various movements, various Dalit movements, various caste movements that occurred in 50s and 60s. So these are the only areas that you have to focus on for the post-independent India section. Coming to the world history, as I already mentioned just now, that you have to focus on areas such as colonization and decolonization. With respect to colonization also, you focus mostly on colonization of Asia and Africa only, right? And as well as decolonization, which started from 1950s and 60s. Similarly, and you have to go through or you have to focus on the dark age period, or we can say middle age period of Europe, and the subsequent changes that occurred in the 16th century. So various philosophies that led to those changes, especially philosophies of Rousseau, philosophies of Voltaire, right? So Karl Marx as well. So which led to bringing of various changes in the Europe, which is coincided with scientific revolution. So this Renaissance period, which is coincided with scientific revolution, which eventually resulted in industrial revolution. So you have to focus on that industrial revolution, the process of industrial revolution, prior process of that. Apart from that, colonization, decolonization, and as well as various revolutions occurred across the planet, especially in America, that is American Revolution, especially in France, that is French Revolution, in Russia, Russian Revolution of 1917. So you have to focus only on those areas. Okay, so these areas are very specific in nature. Obviously UPSC is also continuously used to ask questions from these areas only. Okay, so this is about the syllabus for mains examination, that is for history, which makes part of GS 1, right? So, ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history, architecture, post-independent India, and world history, right? And moving ahead, so I have also mentioned some of the sources that you have to upon, right? So here I have segregated all these sections of history for the examination. So for ancient part, you can rely on R. Sharma, that is India's ancient past, and for medieval part, you can easily rely on Satish Chandra, which is actually there is one book for Satish Chandra and Medieval India by Satish Chandra, and there are separate reference books which is consists of 2 volumes. You can go through either of them, right? So coming to modern India, you can rely on History of Modern India by Bipin Chandra, or you can also rely on Spectrum's Brief History of Modern India. And for post-independent India, you can go through a certain book called India Since Independence, which is also written by Bipin Chandra. But however, for this particular book, you go through the topics selectively which are important for examination. It's not just, you start from the beginning of the book and you end up the book. It's not in that way. So because obviously that book is a huge book which takes larger chunk of your preparation time. So just focus on few selective topics which are important for examination, right? And coming to world history, see here I have provided 2 sources, that is one by Norman Lowe and the other one by Ranjan Chakravarti. So either of them, so just follow any one of them only, okay. So Ranjan Chakravarti is more specific in nature, Norman Lowe is more comprehensive in nature. So it's your choice, either you can follow Norman Lowe or Ranjan Chakravarti. But here also, as I mentioned, only focus on those areas selectively which are important for examination, right? So this makes sources for history for mains. And moving ahead, so here I have provided few of the questions that were asked in 2023 and 2022 as well. So just to make sure that you understand the nature of questions that were asked by UPSC in the examination. So here we'll see the 2023 paper. So here I have only provided those history questions which makes part of GS1 in 2023. So in 2023, the UPSC have asked 6 questions from history. You can see here all the questions which I have provided. So obviously, as I already mentioned in this class itself, that there are diversity in the nature of questions. So questions may come from ancient India or medieval India, modern India, art and culture, right? So it's not that specifically the question must be asked from this section. So it's the choice of UPSC. Obviously, it can ask any question from any section of the history, right? So here let us see the questions. So explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. So this is the ancient section, which is simple, like you can, for this question you can consider from beginning to end of ancient India, especially focusing on those geographical factors that contributed to the development of ancient India. So for this we can start from right from the beginning of prehistoric periods as well. So next question, that is this question is from modern section. So which is nothing but he is asking the comparison or the differences between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore regarding their approach towards education and nationalism. So actually this is a very elaborative topic. So actually in the modern section, so especially we'll deal with Gandhi's role in Indian national movement and his approach towards various aspects of society, and similarly Tagore's approach towards various aspects of society, and will bring them together in terms of comparison, and as well as we have to analyze the differences among them, right? So this is the question is nothing but the differences between Gandhi and Tagore towards education and nationalism. So this question is from modern section. If you see third question here, asking about the socio-economic effects with respect to introduction of railways in different countries. See, generally we know that Britishers have introduced railways into India in 1853, which brought various changes, both social and economic changes. Similarly, during this time of colonization, the European nations have brought or introduced railways to various parts of the world, which also brought various changes, socio-economic changes in those countries. So this question is nothing but that socio-economic effects of introduction of railways in those countries. So which is part of world history. So this is from ancient history, this is from modern history, and this question is from world history. So actually these 3 questions are 10 markers. and you have to write those 10 markers in maximum 150 words. Okay, to write answers and how to maintain the structure and content of the answers in a separate video, right? So next question, that is a Vedic society, again going back to ancient India. So here that means you can see here they have asked 2 questions from ancient section, right? So this question is about Vedic society, that is Vedic time periods, social aspects and religious aspects. So 2 aspects here, that is obviously this question is for 15 markers. So 4, 5, 6 were for 15 markers and you have to write them in maximum 250 words. Okay. So this is 150 words, these 3 are for 150 words and these 3 are for 250 words. So obviously you have to deal with subsections of the questions as well. So here you have to deal with society in the Vedic time period and religion in the Vedic time period, right? So moving on to next question, what were the major technological changes introduced during the Sultanate period? So this question makes the medieval India. So especially as I already mentioned, with respect to medieval India, you have to focus on 2 important areas, that is Delhi Sultanate period and Mughal period. So this question is from Delhi Sultanate, asking about various technological changes introduced by them, right? So similarly, the last question you can see here, how did the colonial rule affect the tribals in India and what was the tribal response to the colonial oppression? So this is specifically about the British expansion's impact on tribal population, or especially they were impacted greatly with respect to their cultural practices, intrusion into their tribal life, and as well as damage to the agricultural practices, right? So you have to address these aspects. So majorly these are the 6 questions that were asked in 2023 from history section in GS1. So 3 questions for 10 marker, 3 questions for 15 marker, that is 30 plus 45, which makes 75 marks out of 250. So as I already mentioned, this can be goes up to 90 marks as well, because sometimes 3 10 markers and 4 15 markers were also asked in few years, right? So this is about 2023 paper. So similarly, let us see the 2022 as well. So here also they have asked 6 questions from history section in GS1. So you can see here the questions. So how will you explain the medieval Indian temple sculptures represent the social life of? So this question is from art and culture section. So obviously you have to address the impact of medieval or depiction of medieval Indian sculptures which represents Indian society. Similarly, again you will find a modern history question, that is, why did the armies of British East India Company, mostly comprising of Indian soldiers, win consistently against more numerous and better equipped armies of Indian rulers? Okay, so this is nothing but comparison of British forces versus Indian forces, especially because obviously most of the cases, like in the Carnatic Wars, in the Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, or in the even subsequent battles, obviously British won against native Indian rulers. So this question is nothing but about that. So what were the reasons for that victory of British in those battles against Indian rulers, right? And coming to the third question, this is also from modern history section only. So which is asking about famines, because obviously you know there were series of famines that India faced during the British rule, especially Bengal famine in 18th century and 19th century, which led to death of numerous population in those parts of the countries. So you need to understand, or you need to write what are those causes, right? Similarly, these are the 10 markers. So again 1, 2, 3 were 10 markers and 4, 5, 6 were 15 markers. So 10 markers were, the maximum word limit is 150. For 15 markers, the maximum word limit is. So you can see here the fourth question, political and administrative reorganization of states and territories has been a continuous ongoing process since the mid 19th century, discussed with examples, right? So this is integrating the consolidation and integration of India post independence, but the process of that started even in the mid 19th century, so you have to address that, right? Similarly, so this mostly forms modern India only, again, which includes post independent India. Discuss the main contributions of Gupta period and Chola period to Indian heritage and culture. This is a direct question. You have to address about the contribution of Gupta and Cholas to Indian culture, right? Similarly, you can see the last question. Discuss the significance of lion and bull figures in the Indian mythology, that is art and architecture. So obviously, bull and lion forms various sculptures, architectures. So these are the common symbols that were continuously maintained by various rulers across the ancient period. So you have to address why. So these are the nature of questions. So as I already mentioned, the diversity of the questions vary from year to year. The number of questions vary from year to year, right? So obviously the marks vary from year to year with respect to history. So sometimes they may ask multiple questions from art and culture. For suppose if you see here, they asked nearly 3 questions from art and culture section. Sometimes they may ask more questions from modern section. Sometimes they may not ask any question from world history, because if you see 2022 paper, there is no question from world history section. So it depends on the UPSC, which changes from year to year. So but for getting good marks, you need to focus on all those areas, that is which I have mentioned, that is ancient India, medieval India, modern India, art and culture, post independent India and world history. So you have to go thoroughly through these areas, so then only you will be able to address all the questions that were asked in the examination with right approach, targeting the right demand of the question, right? So obviously we will discuss each and every aspect of those questions, PYQs, in our further classes, because in detail, so we will discuss how to write answers in detail. We will analyze each and every year's question in detail. We will analyze each and every pattern of those questions and how to address those questions in our subsequent lectures, right? So this is all about the main trend with respect to the history subject in GS 1, right? So thank you guys. Thank you.